Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder. And this week is going to be interesting because we usually end up doing a lot of live action stuff with a little bit of animation thrown in for flavor. But this week, it's very much all graphic all the time. Wait, not like that.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. If you're new or if you're returning, welcome back. If you're new, what we do is we critique stuff from our corners in different parts of the United States. Almost quite literally.
Yes, different corners. Yep.
Yeah. Although in my case, if I went any further, I'd have to be in Miami. But yeah, so we usually do something new, or more contemporary, and then follow with something classic, and then we talk about something we've consumed solo during the week. And before I forget, if you didn't see it, last night I dropped my new horror movie review, The Serpent and the Rainbow. So if you haven't seen that, check that out after the show. One of my better reviews, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like that movie was a real crapshoot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
What do you know? Shooting a movie in Haiti right after revolution might have some issues.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. But to get us started for tonight, we have My Hero Academia Vigilantes.
Yes, we gave this anime the 3-episode ruling, which is a term we haven't used for a while because we haven't opted to take a look at a new show for a bit.
Yeah.
So this is one where I think I even reviewed it for the show a while back. I read the entire manga series of this. It's basically some smart person at Shonen Jump or the creator of My Hero Academia deciding, you know what, let's be like an American comic book and build a larger universe.
Yes, and there are some really interesting, fascinating characters that we've seen on the show so far. It takes place. What would you say about like a year or two before the main series?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how long it takes Deku's mom to go from typical anime mom to fat. Because she does appear briefly in a thinner form in one episode.
Oh, okay.
She was one of the ladies that he was helping while he was being nice guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I actually ended up watching the 4th episode, which I think they dropped on like Sunday or Monday. And
must have been Monday because when I was watching it, they didn't have a 4th.
Okay. Yeah, and Tenya Ida's brother shows up. He's still Ingenium.
Instead of being Paralysium, whatever you
yeah.
Spoiler alerts for My Hero Academia.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have a little flashback scene where he's trying to help Tenya use his powers. And Tenya looks like he's about 12 or 13. So
yeah, so it's a few years beforehand.
Yeah.
So yes, the series acts as a prequel to My Hero Academia proper. And what I'll say is that watching these early episodes, boy, the characters went a long way over the course of those volumes.
Oh.
Not in a bad way. It's just that, and I think this is kind of smart when you're testing the waters like this. You don't drop the full backstory and complexity of the characters in right away. You kind of have to start off simple. And this is back in time, but the whole hero system that they've come up with for this world of My Hero Academia is in place. Because for those who haven't seen the primary series, it's a world where about 80% of the population has some sort of superpower called a quirk, which people are hard enough to manage when they can't melt steel beams or turn into a dinosaur.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so they have this whole system where in order to be a hero, you have to like get a license and register with whatever the bureau is called. Um, and but we meet one hero who says, "Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go around punching bad guys."
Yes. So our three main characters are Koichi, aka Nice Guy, aka Crawler, aka Crawler, because people mishear him.
Yeah,
Uh, he is the main character up there in the front. He basically is a superhero. He starts off the series as a superhero light. It's more like it's like a version of that Phoenix Jones guy from Seattle, but not horribly corrupt. Where it's just like he goes around in a costume, helping people out
yeah,
in minor non-violent ways.
yes, yeah, and hence his moniker, "Nice Guy."
Yep. And his power is pretty neat. Actually, it's a little bit, how to put it, it starts off kind of lame, but conceptually, one of the challenges that you always have for a superhero is a superhero needs a unique way of getting around, in my opinion, in order to really catch on.
Yeah,
They need to their powers need to be visually distinct, and so Koichi's thing is that he can slide around the ground, like he could just propel himself along the ground, like he's at like this roughly the speed of like a bicycle.
yeah.
He just has to maintain at least 3 points of contact with the ground.
Yes, yeah, and then the other hero that pops up is the guy I mentioned before. He's called Knuckle Duster.
Who he goes through a lot of development in the series, but so it's almost kind of refreshing to just take him back to his. Yeah, I'm basically just here to kick ass.
Yeah,
he's a big slab of beef.
yeah, yeah.
It's like if All Might is Superman, this guy is like Batman.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was getting Dark Knight Returns vibes from him.
Yeah, like he's just a unit. Like, dude is jacked.
Yeah.
And he takes Koichi under his wing. And then you have Pop Step, who she is less a superhero and more of a idol. She basically, her power is that she can jump around and kind of like moon jumping is almost the way I'd put it.
Yeah.
Like she seems to move unnaturally slowly when she jumps.
Yeah, and hey, Cheng, it's good to see you.
Hey, man.
The only thing I really know about MAH is that I don't F with Bakugo. Yeah, he's kind of an ass and not in a fun way. Yeah, that's very true.
Right, Bakugo is Mr. Angry. Actually, what's funny now I think about it, Knuckle Duster, despite being a old man vigilante fisticuff man, actually less angry than Bakugo.
He is, yeah.
So Pop Star Step. I don't know if the star is silent or not.
Yeah.
Presumably yes. She just does these little guerrilla performances. She just shows up, hops around, sings what everybody perceives to be mid J-pop songs, but everybody likes that performance. Now, part of this might be because that skirt is ridiculous.
Yes.
She's always jumping around. I noticed that compared to the manga, they were making an effort to use shadows to censor her. Good idea.
Yeah.
Shit, character is 16. You don't want to get in trouble with standards and practices.
Yeah. I was wondering how old she was. I'm like, okay, because I think because at one point in one episode she shows up in her uniform, so like, okay, she is a high school student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what these are just kind of classic superhero stories that are building on each other. Because it starts off with Koichi is just doing his little Good Samaritan superhero thing, when he has time off from school or work, and then he runs into some actual trouble when was it? Yeah, Pop was being threatened by these 3 gangbanger quirk users,
Yeah.
and then Knuckle Duster shows up in Rex's house.
Yeah.
And it turns out that what Knuckle Duster is after is people are distributing this street drug that enhances your quirk for a short periods of time, but it also turns you into a rage monster.
Yes, yeah, and it turns their tongues purple. So when he beats them up, he always has to look at their tongue to see if they're on it or not.
Right, because supposedly it cuts off blood supply to the tongue.
Yeah.
It's all very simple stuff, but it also works out nicely. And I think that this series would stand alone well enough, even if you hadn't seen My Hero Academia, which is always a strength for a spinoff like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I would say just satisfying. Now, visually, this is one of the more distinctive looking anime I've seen for a bit.
Yeah, when I was watching it, it sort of reminded me of X-Men '97.
Yeah, like where they had all the characters in the show are drawn with thicker lines than normal, which kind of gives them an American comic booky look.
Yeah.
Also, they put a lot of effort into the color and shadows, I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
So it's like they're very good about lights, like sources of light. All the colors were very distinctive. Like it wasn't quite 4-color comic style, but I think it was trying to look like that, like where the colors are simpler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least they're very vibrant. And also, whenever characters do things, you'll get a sound effect in English. I would be curious if the Japanese production or the Japanese broadcast had those sound effects in Japanese, because I don't recall seeing that done in the original manga, although it's been a bit since I read it.
Yeah. Well, I know they didn't do that in the main series.
Yeah, so Pop jumps and it's like boing is like on the screen for a second or something along those lines.
Yeah, you get a whir and a blam and a
yeah. So it's just a very so without using my foreknowledge of where the story is going, I think I would still recommend it, just because it's fun, super heroics. It's telling a bigger story. If you've watched the main My Hero Academia series, you're going to see some cameos, and what's nice about it is you get to see some people who are teachers at the school in the main series earlier in their careers, where they're just superheroes full time.
Yeah, like Eraser shows up at one point, and like All Might's in there. What's her name? Midnight. Yeah, a whole bunch of them. Endeavor. Yeah.
Yep. Now using my foreknowledge, I'll say that you get to see a lot of Midnight and Eraser over the course of things. This cover here, I don't know if it's actually for the anime or not, because the art style almost looks more reminiscent of the manga, because it is subtly different. Like this doesn't quite have the same thick Americanized comic book lines on it.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if this was for the main series, this would imply that we were getting a pretty long season here to introduce some of these characters who I recall showing up later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I'm hoping it doesn't kind of fall into the same trap that the main series fell into, where it was just like really long story arcs that just kind of get a little repetitive.
Time for a little bit of foreknowledge here.
Oh, okay.
So what to expect from this series, and I'm going to speak in generalities here.
Okay.
There is a part of it where, so I think it came down to around 15 volumes. Yeah, 15 volumes. And so it's like very strong in the first 5 volumes. Then it has a sort of what I'll call a middling phase for a few volumes. And then it starts ratcheting things up And I am going to be very curious how they adapt the end arc to this, because it was almost a joke with me and my friends. Like for a year, I would say, "Wow, well, I guess this is the last volume," because like they had a very protracted last fight between our main characters and the last villain.
Oh.
And it was starting to outlive its welcome a little bit, but I think part of that was getting it once every 4 to 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
So I think pacing might be a similar issue, but at the very least, the anime adaptation is pretty snappy. They aren't padding anything out as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Okay.
And then as far as Daniel, did you watch this in English or Japanese?
I watched it in English.
Okay. So I did what I usually do for a show like this, where I'll watch an episode in English, watch one in Japanese, and then just go with whatever I like better.
Yeah.
I think I ended up I watched the main series in English. I think that the English dub on this is all right, but I kind of like the stock anime character voices that that for Knuckle Duster and Pop Step a little more in Japanese. Like I think that the at least the way I always imagine Knuckle Duster's voice, I feel like he needed like a little more gravel in the English dub.
Oh, yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Where the Japanese, he's kind of doing like the classic muscle tough guy one.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could go really wrong with either choice. I just think that the Japanese was slightly my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would liken this to if the main My Hero Academia series is that universe's X-Men or Avengers. This is like it's Daredevil or Champions or whatnot. It's like the spin-off thing that it's never going to be as big as the main one, but it's still worth a look.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yes, and it's currently on Crunchyroll. For those of you who are interested.
Indeed. But you know what isn't on Crunchyroll?
Yes.
Big City Greens. The 100+ episode show that I had no idea was more than a one-season wonder on Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't either. This show caught my attention when I was staying at Disney World one time. I think I was just kind of flipping through. Like the only time I ever watched terrestrial television is when I'm staying at a hotel.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So and of course I'm at Disney World, so I flipped to the Disney channels, and this show was on there, and I thought, oh, this, it had. Of course, it's Cal art style, so I'm kind of like, I don't know, but I gave it a try, and it's a fun show. It's obviously geared towards kids because it's every episode kind of has like a lesson or a moral at the end of it. But it has enough of that adult humor to keep older people interested, and especially like their scenes are that they kind of do that close up on their faces, almost kind of like Ren and Stimpy. And occasionally, where one of them will just have almost like a mini psychotic break, like I'm walking the edge of despair.
So it's got a little bit of that the millennial writers writing for themselves.
Pretty much, yeah. So the show centers around the Green family. We got going from right to left, or left to right, excuse me. We got the grandma, Alice Green, and then we've got youngest son, Cricket, and then the dad, Bill, and daughter, Tilly. And each one of them, of course, they kind of follow different archetypes that you would expect in a show like this. Grandma is very cantankerous. She's, just, don't mess with me, and don't mess with my family, don't mess with my farm, all that kind of thing. Cricket is like ADD riddled kid who just needs a few doses of Ritalin to keep himself calm, because he's always rambunctious and just running around getting into trouble, and he never wears shoes. He always makes a point. He's like, I never wear shoes. And then the dad Bill is very much a aw shucks kind of salt of the earth farmer guy, and he's not big on thrills or anything like that. His favorite drink is plain old water.
So a very boring man.
Yes. The only big quirk with him, and I don't know if you can see it with his hand on Cricket, but he lost part of his finger in a hay baler accident. And then last but not least, there's Tilly, and she is a very sweet girl, but she's also a little odd. She likes to talk to animals, and a little, she likes to think she has some kind of weird, like some kind of psychic connection with animals. Like I remember one episode where she's holding the goat, and she's like looking into his eyes, like, oh, what are you thinking right now?
So what you're saying is that if she was a Breakfast Club character, she'd be making herself a Cap'n Crunch and pixie stick sandwich.
Yes.
Hold the bologna.
Yes, she would. And the whole premise of the show is Bill, Cricket, and Tilly. They sell their farm out in the country, and they move to big city to live with grandma. And Genghis, yeah, the girl talking to a witch. They moved to big city to live with grandma because she still has part of her farm in this little alcove in the city, and it's basically just the first season really is kind of this fish out of water thing where you got these country bumpkins living in the big city and trying to figure everything out, and just creating havoc along the way, and most of the episodes just kind of revolve around them either just causing destruction and embarrassing themselves, or one of the kids doing something that gets themselves in trouble, or just or somebody in the city making their lives miserable. So, like, for instance, in the first two seasons, there was a character named Chip Whistler, and he runs Wholesome Foods, which is obviously Whole Foods.
Right.
Yeah, and he's always trying to mess with them all the time, but then the Greens get one up on him, and then he ends up chipping one of his front teeth. Yeah, and but it's like I said, it's a cute, funny show, and they it's fun watching all their different antics and troubles. And one of the other character and another character I forgot, or a few characters I forgot to mention. So they live next door to a coffee shop, and the girl, there's a girl who works in there, I would say like older and like kind of like early 20s. Her name is Gloria, and she's like this aspiring artist, and she's always getting into it with Cricket, because Cricket, I'm trying to remember what it was. He does something, and he like destroys the coffee shop, and then he ends up having to work there to pay off his debt. And then you also have Cricket's best friend Remy, who he's a rich kid. He looks like I showed a picture to DB before the show. He kind of looks like a mini version of Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So that's actually a good transition to something I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Are these characters supposed to be human? Are they some sort of weird bug mutants?
I don't know. It's very odd, like how they're colored. Yeah, how they're colored in. Like, yeah, of course you have the greens who are all green, and yeah, then you've got like, as you can see, purple and blue and yellow. It is kind of odd. I don't know why the creators chose that kind of color scheme. Maybe it's their way of trying to be diverse without being too ethnic or recognizably ethnic.
Yeah, I mean, like The Simpsons had bright yellow skin for everybody, so it might just be that tradition.
Yeah.
Also, I noticed that nobody has a nose, so I guess it's like a bit CalArts that way.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, some of the episodes are kind of hit and miss. There are a few here and there. They're like, okay, I could have done without that. One of the other major arcs that I thought was really interesting was when the mom shows up. Her name is Nancy, and she's a biker chick. That's her whole thing is she's just, she wears a leather jacket and boots and jeans and rides around on a Harley, and she shows up about midway through the first season because she got out of prison. She was trying to help their farm. So like, whenever she tries to help people, she does something that just makes it worse. So in her case, she was trying to help her farm from this like mega corporation that had this dairy farm nearby. So she breaks in and sets all the cows loose.
Oh no!
Yeah. So she goes to a prison for a few years for that.
Wait, that was the plot of the Garfield movie.
It was, yeah. So that's probably where the Garfield movie got it from.
Man, whatever residual credit I gave them for a unique premise,
yeah. Just went out the window.
Yeah. So looking at the curriculum vitae of the creators, is it Chris and Shane Houghton?
Yeah.
So they seem to be like kind of Disney animation lifers. One of them did some work on Wander Over Yonder and the Mickey Mouse cartoon from a few years back. The most unusual thing on their thing is that this must have been how they broke into the industry. They did. So did you ever see that Jack Black movie, Be Kind, Rewind?
I didn't, but I've always meant to watch that.
So I did watch that one back in the day. Basic idea is that they are working at a tape rental store, and they accidentally tape over all the tapes or erase all the tapes. So they make their own quick home movie versions of different movies. And then record them onto the tapes. So they were involved. So the Houghtons were involved with our RoboCop remake and our Footloose remake, which at least for the RoboCop one, it looks like it was 55 different people, and each was assigned a chunk of the movie to redo.
Oh,
and they contributed to it.
Oh, okay.
So they're making this sort of quirky animated show seems very in keeping with their style.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if you're interested in the show, Disney Plus is where you can find it. Oh.
Now let's do a quick little bit of comparison here. If you were to recommend one kid's Disney cartoon to people, would you recommend this more or Gravity Falls more?
Oh, I would recommend Gravity Falls more.
Okay, so this is basically, okay, I've watched Gravity Falls. I'm in the mood for more cartoons that can kind of appeal to an adult, but not too adult. This would be a solid choice.
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
Speaking of solid choices, unless you have any final thoughts?
Nope, no.
All right, speaking of solid choices, I'm catching up on my crowdfunded comics backlog. Last weekend, I read Kit Carter, Galactic Ranger, Planet Doom.
Mm.
So this is by Aaron Lopresti, who had a career at DC until he suddenly didn't. And unlike certain people who that would actually describe as well, he can actually keep up a consistent writing and art schedule.
Yeah.
Who am I taking shots at? There are a couple people that could be.
yeah.
But so this is an original property that. So a few months back, I reviewed Cecil's comic Cash Grab, where it was trying to be like a silly sci-fi romp, and it just had too many ideas that it couldn't focus on.
Yeah.
This basically feels like what that was trying to be.
Okay.
So our main character is Kit Carter, who is an elite ranger in the Galactic Alliance Freedom Force, GAF, with her partner Merv the Astro Chimp. Now she's very much she's kind of like the classic straight man of the pair. Merv is always quipping and being ridiculous to varying degrees of comedy. What I'll just say out the front is that this one, from a writing perspective, I think I laughed a couple of times, but it's mostly just like that was mildly amusing, or that was sort of funny, or that was sort of fun. If I'd been asked to give it a read over, there were a couple of lines I might have tweaked a little bit just to punch them up a bit. Being funny is damn hard, as they say. Or
yeah.
But the basic premise of this one is that somebody has stolen so there's this doomed planet, the titular Planet Doom, that's run by a evil alien overlord. He has managed to get a hold of what amounts to it's kind of like a Green Lantern power battery, because it's held by some galactic guardian guy, and Kit Carter and Merv are sent off to go recover the artifact. And I'd say that the highlight of this one is the art. What's interesting is that it didn't do this quite as much as I expected. Like the first adventure very much is fan servicey with Kit.
Oh yeah.
This decreases over time because she doesn't necessarily interact directly with the villain that much once she arrives. It's basically Aaron Lopresti drawing a lot of really awesome panels with the two characters dodging various alien monsters and thingams. So it's worth the price of admission just for the art alone. But there are there are things where it's like, wait, okay. So I'll admit, with a lot of crowdfunded comics, I'm used to there just being, how to put it, didn't edit it enough itis. Where there are just like blatant contradictions of what characters say.
Oh yeah.
Like no, with this one, if something doesn't make sense, they're actually setting up a joke. Like then that was one of the better ones, so I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah.
It is like the feeling this gives is it's like a 1970s Marvel or DC space comic. The villain gives you kind of that Jim Starlin doing Thanos vibe, just like with a comedic twist.
Yeah.
The Guardian of Space who's trying to get his orb back. He looks very much like the DC character, the Spectre, just like an alien version of him.
Yeah. Okay.
You can definitely see the influences. So if you're just looking for a pretty silly American comic that, again, like the art is the main thing, and that's often something that comics are interesting because you can have a story that's just kind of okay, but with amazing art, or even just very good art, it carries it quite a bit in a way that amazing spectacle doesn't necessarily carry a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing this comic book around when it was being crowdfunded. I, I thought
Well,
about I thought about backing it, but I can't remember why I didn't.
I can say that Kit's character design is to your tastes.
Yeah, yes, I can see that.
Um, uh, now, also, unlike some other crowdfunded comics I've reviewed, this one is currently available for purchase.
Oh,
And whereas before, like with Cecil or some of your boy Zach's comics, it's like, I'd say like if you have $30 to blow, this is not a bad way to do it.
oh,
The book actually it's very high quality printing. It is larger than normal American graphic novel,
okay.
so it is kind of a premium format.
Oh, nice.
Speaking of speaking of birds and number of days. Wait, we weren't speaking about birds and numbers of days. Look, sometimes you have to force the transition.
Yes, yeah, yeah. 3 days of the Condor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I admit that I had not seen this one before, and I had no idea what it was aside from hearing people make reference to it on occasion.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it either, but I knew that it was a kind of Cold War era spy thriller. My parents have been bugging me to watch this movie for a long time because it was one of their I don't know if it was one of their favorites, but they certainly enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and I will tell you that my so there are movies that you know through pop culture osmosis, right?
Yeah.
Like like you more or less, if you watch media, you have some idea of what The Godfather is about.
Yes. Yeah.
This one, it's very influential, but it's like the actual beats of the storyline don't seem to be as influential, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you who probably don't know this, the Russo brothers who did some of the Marvel movies, this particular film was a an influence on Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and to drive that point home even further, that's why they cast Robert Redford in that movie because he's in this movie too.
Yeah. So the basic premise of it is Robert Redford is working for this CIA outfit. I forget the exact name of it, but their objective is they basically read everything.
Yeah, yeah. They read books, they read comic books, they read short stories, all kinds of media, because they're looking for like basically like coded messages or plans that show up in these stories that either are familiar or are similar to actual plans or could be used as plans in other operations.
And this isn't as crazy of an idea as it kind of sounds like. I remember watching an old episode of The Daily Show where they had canceled a project called Project DVD at some point in the 2000s, where basically you had like some, I forget which agency. I'll just pretend that you had some DARPA people buy up a bunch of movies and try to figure out if they could recreate things. Like they'd watch Iron Man and go, okay, what would we need to actually make an Iron Man suit, and see if it was practical.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, apparently, this movie was successful enough and had enough penetration that the Soviets came up with their own version of that organization,
Mm.
or at least according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
But anyway, so Robert Redford, they characterize him very quickly. He's kind of obnoxious and a bit of a know-it-all.
Oh yeah, yeah. He shows up late to work because he rides his bike.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't he doesn't like going out in the rain. He always goes out through the back door, which is completely against their uh policies or procedures. He kind of gets a little smart with his boss.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just kind of an annoying little know-it-all.
Right. He basically, he's the best person in their outfit, and he knows he's the best person in their outfit. And boy, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment here to just praise something I don't usually notice, which was the set design in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like especially that opening there at the literature office. There was so much effort put into making that office a character, as they say. Like, like just all the machines. So like, what's his name? Paul Chato talks about gear porn. This movie definitely goes in for that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Like they have like this automatic translating machine that they have running all the time, turning Chinese into English. That they have. There's later scenes where he's hacking 70s style computers via telephone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But back to this thing. Like there's like a cozy side of the office. There's a bunch of clutter all over the place, and just like the smallest detail that was blink and you miss it was on the bathroom. They had, and I had to look closely to see what it was. They had like a board that had like a little arrow on a magnet, and you could twist it between a Polaroid of one of the men in the office or like or one of the women in the office.
Yeah.
And I guess I was basically marking whether it was a man or a woman in their time, or whether it was a men or a women's room at the time. I just thought to myself, that is such a tiny detail that technically adds nothing to the story, but like it gives so much character to that outfit. It makes it feel like a real office where it's like, we only got the one bathroom upstairs. We got to make sure we don't have any more incidents like after last week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the place, and like at one point they go downstairs, or he goes downstairs to go through this secondary exit, and it's just full of books, and there's just so much sense of history that they've managed to build into this place.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wouldn't mind working at a place like that.
Yeah, like it just feels very homey.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, we are going to be doing some spoilers here. The non-spoiler thought is that if you haven't seen it yet, go give it a watch. I wouldn't say it's the best movie we've ever seen, but it's definitely unique and interesting in its own right.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's very much a departure from our normal spy movies that we watch, or spy movies, in general. It's not James Bond.
Right. This is Bob from accounting who keeps reasonably in shape, suddenly being shoved into an awful situation.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And it's it's very well, as DB pointed out, it's very well shot. The sets are really great. There's a lot of great tension. The actors do a very good job of selling it, and selling everything from from Redford to Faye Dunaway, Max von Sydow. I actually really liked Max von Sydow in this.
So there's our spoiler dividing line. We're now just going to talk about things openly.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyways, Robert Redford's character, just referred to as Turner, goes to grab lunch for everyone with the very exacting list of orders.
Yes.
And then their office is attacked and everyone is horribly gunned down without mercy, one by one.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're led by Max von Sydow, who has a very very cold demeanor to the whole thing.
Yeah, they made the interesting choice to make him from Alsace, which means that, is he German? Is he French? It depends entirely on who won the last war.
Yeah.
Definitely with a German accent, though.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, so when Redford shows up and sees what's happened, he immediately has to go into flight mode and go into hiding. And and of course he doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know like who's who, because he calls into the CIA crisis center, and he's just like, well, what am I supposed to do? He's like, I'm not a field operative. I just read books. It's like,
Yeah, and although they do make a point that he kind of sees a lot of their tricks coming just because he is so well read.
yeah, he points out at various points. He's like, well, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, because I read.
Yep. And then at one point in the course of his escape, he kidnaps Faye Dunaway, who plays Kathy, and that is a relationship that I don't think that's not so much that you couldn't portray it these days. It's just that you couldn't portray it in exactly the way they did here.
Yeah, it escalates quickly.
Yeah, like it almost feels a bit forceful. Although,
Yeah.
then again, there are those women out there who, would love to find out that Edward had been staring at them through the window for weeks on end. So,
Yeah, it definitely gets their motor going.
Yeah. I'm going to share some cursed knowledge. At the height of the fame of Twilight, they actually made massage wands that were designed to be put in the freezer to simulate the vampires of that series. I was burdened with this knowledge, and now so are all of you.
Oh, God. Oh, I've lost all faith in mankind.
Anyway, well, this was a good movie for you to watch because so did this movie. It's definitely that peak 70s cynicism.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this was what year was this? 75? Yeah, 1975. Yeah. So this was not long after Watergate.
Yeah, like you would think that Watergate had shaped this movie when my understanding was that the movie only came out a couple of months afterwards.
Yeah.
Another amusing little factoid about this movie is that it's based on a novel called 6 Days of the Condor. I guess I decided to chop it down to 3 days because movie timing.
Yeah. I found that rather amusing too when I saw that in the opening credits. I'm like, wonder why they cut it in half. It's just save time, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. So the movie is like a cat and mouse between Robert Redford and the various operatives who are after him. And for most of the movie, you really don't know who they are because it's like, okay, well, are these like, is this some sort of Soviet or East German plot? Because, they do have that German guy there.
Yes. Yeah.
I should say, I don't know that he ever actually speculated that they were foreign agents, but that was on my radar as a possibility.
Yeah, because well, at the beginning of the movie, I mean, they were talking about this book that he was analyzing, and which ends up being the whole reason for what's happening in the movie. And I think he said something like it was being translated into like Arabic and Spanish and Dutch, and it's just like, well, but it wasn't in Russian, it wasn't in German, it wasn't, it wasn't the usual suspects, basically.
Yeah, so it definitely keeps you guessing. It does eventually tie together. We'll get into a second layer of spoilers in a minute. It does eventually tie together. I don't think that we as the audience could have divined what was going on. So it is a bit of a mystery box plot.
Yeah. I definitely got that feeling. Yeah, because because the entire time you're sitting there trying to figure out like, well, who are these people? Who's after him? Why are they after him? Are the people, and then the people in the CIA that he's talking to, are they in on it? Are they?
Right. Well, we're guessing right along with Redford, which is kind of the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, as far as the feel of it, like Daniel said, this is very well shot. It also has a very nice soundtrack, and like I think I forget if I mentioned this before the show when I was talking with Daniel. I'd had the idea in my head that this was some sort of 80s or 90s style Tom Clancy story.
Yeah,
because I'd never heard any firm details on it, but like there's no mistaking the era this comes from. The second you start the movie and you hear the soundtrack start up, like it is so 70s, man.
oh yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a product of its time. Yeah.
Yeah, down to the fashion, the product placement, the music,
Yeah.
just everything. Also, just like in The Sting, Robert Redford proves that he has nice running endurance.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing I noticed. Yeah, he's basically proving that he was Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise.
Yep. So as far as the movie's ending, it's one of those things where if you were a real foreign policy nut, you could figure it out, and it made some sense afterwards. But again, like I think that it was designed to be opaque to the audience.
Yeah.
It's a little bit Doctor Strangelove now that I think about it, because it's basically we had we're always making up these plans for like what if we had this scenario and that scenario and that scenario, and basically it was a CIA operation to invade and take out chunks of the Middle East, the Netherlands, and Venezuela, which is why it was translated into Arabic, Spanish, and Dutch. Yeah. And the reason is all three of those areas produce oil.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about the oil, man.
It actually reminded me quite a bit of the last Mission Impossible movie, where you had that long speech by the guy talking about, we're dealing with a dwindling environment. We're fighting for our chunk of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Very similar. And
this guy's going like, in 10 years, everyone's going to be hungry. It's like, man, those were the predictions at the time.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Well, yeah, and they thought there was going to be another ice age.
Right. They thought there was going to be another ice age. Famines where a third of Americans died.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Did you read The Population Bomb when you were in school?
No, but I know of the idea. Boy, did that turn out to be largely incorrect.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, I read it in high school, and my dad read it in high school too, and he went to his dad, my grandfather, like, oh, we gotta be really worried. My grandfather was like, I was hearing that when I was your age.
Yeah.
So,
it turns out that most doom and gloom predictions don't turn out to be correct, but they sure sell. Speaking of doom and gloom that sells, let's get back to the movie.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah,
I took us on a bit of a tangent there.
That's okay.
Yeah, so basically they have all these war games, and some crazy nut job in the CIA and a group of his buddies decided to actually carry one of them out.
Yes, and the Redford's office, all of his coworkers and friends were basically collateral damage.
Right, because basically they had stumbled upon something that hinted at the mission, and it was actually Redford's fault in a way, because he was noticing the weirdness of the message only being translated into those specific languages.
Yeah, and the section chief, basically his boss's boss, was in on the whole thing. So he'd write back and say, I don't see anything here.
Yep. So now, if I think about this plan on like a larger scale, one of the problems with it is that maybe I'm crazy, but do you think they could really get away with invading a member of NATO in the form of the Netherlands?
I don't think so. No. That would have been a huge scandal and a huge war crime.
Yeah. And boy, that would have been the end of NATO right there.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
and also, and what's funny is that the person who was explaining the plot at the end of the movie to Redford, and
yeah,
another chief, said, and the plan could have worked. Like, if I think about U.S. military assets in 1975,
yeah,
they could have probably taken Venezuela, though good luck holding it.
yeah.
Middle East, that's a big, vague area. Like maybe, and well, as I guess they didn't quite have that experience to know how hard it is to actually hold and shape the Middle East. But
No, they hadn't. They didn't know that. Yeah, because this was what 5 years, 4 or 5 years before the Soviets invaded Afghanistan.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I think this is even before the Iranian Revolution.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. Yeah, Iranian Revolution was. Yeah, that was 78 or 79.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but if I stop thinking about it from a real life perspective, uh, it actually is kind of believable that the CIA head guy there would be overly optimistic about their chances of pulling it off. Now that I think about it,
yeah, yeah. Although I like this was, at the tail end of the Vietnam War.
yeah,
That didn't go very well.
yeah. I guess it is realistic to have the CIA want to bite off more than it can chew.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, what I would say is that like the movie starts off as an action movie, but it ends as a thriller. But because it's like the initial action scene, from an action set piece perspective, uh, it kind of blows its wad early.
yeah. It does.
Um, and so just set your expectations. It's going to turn into tense cat and mouse and one-on-one small scale fights after a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Which is kind of what espionage is like in reality.
Right.
It's
Right. James Bond is the worst spy in the world when you really get down to it.
Oh yeah, he's terrible. Yeah, yeah. He's a bit like Axel Foley.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, now, as far as the quality of the movie itself, like I said, I think we've seen better, but this movie definitely has a unique sense of style.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah, and there's something to be said about kind of this era of spy thrillers because it was and not quite kind of the height of the Cold War, and when tensions were really high, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just that cat and mouse kind of
Yeah, and
thing is really
it isn't fantastical like James Bond is. This is like it's almost like it's almost like the Bourne Identity before the Bourne Identity.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We lost a great villain when the Cold War ended.
Well, there was another one there the whole time, but we wanted to pretend that they were our friends. So,
No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this movie is on Paramount Plus. For those of you who are interested in watching it, although both of us give it a solid recommendation.
yep.
Well, yeah, I think we've said all we need to say for tonight.
Indeed.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell, buy some books. Links are in the description down below.
All that good stuff.
All that, yes. And we'll see you next week. Night, everybody.
Yep. Good night, everyone.